Okay, now what we're going to be doing in the next couple of videos is we're going to be talking about how we're going to finish the rest of the chairs. And when I say finish, I mean we're going to be adding paint. I'm going to give you some suggestions for how to, let's get rid of that chair over there, putting on little seat covers, etc. Because this chair is only a start. This one has a more, I think, if I look at it in hindsight, a much more complicated manner of putting on these chair backs than really was needed. It's one of the last things I will show you how to do. And even then, I think I'm going to alter it a little bit to make it a little bit more user-friendly. So I have 3 of the chairs that we used to try out the different kinds of stretchers on: H stretcher, box stretcher, and X stretcher. And I'm going to show you how you can make some different covers and do painting and things like that. Now, before we can do any of this right here, I'm just going to kind of sweep this off. One of the first things we're going to need to do is we're going to need to seal this chair. Now, you can see, oh, there's a little booger there. I'm going to get that kind of off. The reason that we seal this is not necessarily because of the wood, although the wood is part of that. We're sealing it because of the cardboard that we've used, the carton board. Now, I could just take paint, and an acrylic paint, and paint it right on top. The problem with that is these papers, because this is some poster board kind of papery, porous papers that are, they're not exactly archival. What'll happen is if I just come in here and just start painting paint on top of it, this is all just going to suck it up, and it's not going to look good. You'll get areas where it will look kind of patchy. Some areas will have a more kind of a saturated kind of appearance. It'll be really uneven. And knowing that I'm in the US now, my go-to now is Mod Podge. And again, this is something that you can get at the dollar store. The dollar store sells these smaller ones for $1.25. This is what I would recommend, because unless you're using a lot of Mod Podge like I am on lots of different projects, just go ahead and get something like this. Now, it comes in a couple of different finishes. This is the satin. This is the one that I prefer. That's why I got the big one. But when you're at the dollar store looking, you can get different kinds. There's a matte, there's a high gloss, and a satin. I'm just going to use the matte for this because it just needs to seal it. So basically what this is just it's going to put a barrier between all this very, very porous material and the paint. It'll make the paint look a lot better. Now, when you don't really need to add it to these wooden parts here. You really just want to get it on the cardboard parts. You don't have to have the absolute best material or tools for this. Any kind of inexpensive brush will do. I think I got these at Michael's, like 15 brushes for like $7 or something. So these were kind of like a mid-range kind of craft brush sort of thing. They came in the same. These came in, they were flats and rounds. Sometimes the ferrule, this metal part, will pop out, and I just jam it back in and use Gorilla Glue and glue it back in, and it works just fine. So you can also use maybe a bigger brush if you want to. So all you're really going to need, I've got some water here. I tend to keep the water on my desk in something that I can put a lid on because I'm a little accident prone. I'll show you here. This is what I'm drinking my water out of, and you can see I'm a little accident prone. It's just a good idea all the way around. So with this, with the Mod Podge, all you really want to do, and I just leave it in the cap. Sometimes I will pour it in the cap, put a little bit in the cap. You just want to put on a nice even coat all the way around. You don't want to glom it on. And I just look for where things are shiny. And I try really hard to just keep, what was it? I had a teacher in art school. I was always, I want to say they were saying, you know, keep to the wet area. I think we were learning uh, um, watercolor. And I'm just going along and making sure, I'm not sure if you can kind of tell whether that's shiny or not. Like I said, this is the matte version. So it'll be shiny as long as it's wet. And it doesn't matter if you get any onto the board, well, or not the board, the wood while you're painting, because I'm looking at this one and I'm going to have to kind of go around it a little bit. And you really only need one nice coat of it. However, if you're really a little nervous, you maybe can put on two. For me, it's just a matter of time. Do I really want to sit around and wait for it? I do give it a good look over once it's done drying. And I want to make sure that I've got all of the pieces especially of the cardboard covered in the Mod Podge. And you don't want it, sometimes when you'll notice I keep going around and looking at the edges, I don't want things to get like a weird little drip on it. I don't like that. It'll end up looking kind of bubbly on your paint. So this is pretty easy. And like I said, if you're new to using Mod Podge or anything sealant like this, you can use more expensive ones. Don't use any kind of oil sealant, because this is, Mod Podge is nice because you can just use water for cleanup. And don't forget the bottom. You want to get in here and get all these little areas here. And again, I'm going to be going over a little bit of the wood here. It doesn't really matter that you're just getting a little bit on there, because we're going to be doing some painting anyway. So that is the first step. You want to make sure all of that cardboard is covered and dries. It dries pretty quickly. Set it aside while you work on the next one or the next piece. Ooh, there's a little glom there. I want that off. While you work on the next one. And by the time, I usually do these in rotation. So if I have 4 or 5 chairs I'm working on, I start with one, and I always keep them in the same order. So when I'm done with one, by the time I get back to the first one, it's dry and it's ready for the next step. And then when it comes to my water, especially when you're just working with Mod Podge, this is just how I do things. You don't have to do them this way. I've just noticed that this is a better way to do it for me if you're accident prone. So I'll see you in the next video, and I'll show you what we're going to do next.